Lagos, being one of the most populous states in Nigeria, has the highest incidence of road crashes. Being a gateway to other countries of the West African sub-region through land and water, the presence of the ports aids importation and exportation of goods. These goods come in containers which can only be conveyed to their destination by trucks. Consequently, the recurring decimal in the process is accident involving some of these container trucks. How to tackle this trend will be discussed on Panorama today, coming to you live from the Lagos Network Center. I am Hinginu John Adams. Thanks for being there. President Muhammadu Buhari has welcomed the beginning of Muslims' holy month of Ramadan, which marks the commencement of 30 days of fasting. In a message to the nation to mark the occasion, President Buhari prayed Allah to accept the sacrifices of everyone, strengthen and increase the unity, solidarity, peace and prosperity of the nation. In a statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, President Buhari urged Muslims in the country to exercise patience and tolerance and reject voices that seek to divide the nation. He also urged all citizens to show compassion to the millions of the less endowed and remember those that have been displaced by conflict in their charity and prayers in this important period. Talking science now, President Muhammadu Buhari has described Nigerian scientists as worthy assets to be nurtured and observed, that the COVID-19 pandemic revealed the potentials, talents, and the creativity of the nation's scientists. In a speech delivered on behalf of the President by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at a public forum organized by the Nigerian Academy of Engineering, the President commended Nigerian engineers for the diversity of their experience and competence. On the important role of science, technology, and engineering in dealing with the pandemic, the President noted that the world turned to these disciplines for immediate solutions and answers, and that one of the most important poignant lessons of the response to the pandemic is the critical interdependence of science and engineering. Giving an update on production of a local vaccine, the President noted that the African Center for Excellence for the Genomics of Infectious Disease has developed an efficacious rapid test for COVID and has been working on a vaccine in collaboration with Diacinvax Digital Immune Optimized Synthetic Vaccines, Cambridge, UK, using the Diacinvax genomic-based technology. Now, Speaker of the ECOWAS Parliament, Sidi Mohamed Tunis, says the ECOWAS Parliament will engage with authorities of member states to stop the extortion of ECOWAS citizens by immigration officials at all border posts in the West African sub-region. At Bajeke community in Bomi County, which is at the Sierra Leone and Liberia border, Tunis engaged with some citizens, including a Nigerian trader, Collins Arthur, who has been plying his trade in Liberia for more than 10 years. He said Liberians are hospitable but decried extortion by immigration officials, even with his valid documents, as a major challenge. Speaker Tunis pledged the intervention of the ECOWAS Parliament by engaging with the relevant authorities in Liberia and other West African countries to address the challenge. He said, in line with the ECOWAS protocol on free movement of persons and goods and to foster integration, ECOWAS citizens should be able to move within the sub-region without any form of harassment. Statistics extracted from the records of the Apapa Command of the Nigeria Customs Service shows that goods worth 42 billion naira were exported within the first quarter of the year. This is good news, as this figure is an indication that the command is winning the anti-smuggling war. This assertion, as given by the controller Yusuf Malanta Ibrahim, explained that business owners now understand the importance of adhering to legitimate process in trade facilitation. Michael Olaleye reports.
Laying waiting within this terminal are containers with questionable contents, but the customs, in keeping tab on smuggling activities, identified 28 for contravening various import and excise duty laws in the first quarter of the year. This container, for instance, is loaded with medicated soaps, but falsely declared as baking powder. It is a deliberate attempt by the importers to escape confiscation, since the content falls under contraband. The importer of another container took concealment to a new level when drugs like tramadol were packed with change of identity to deceive unsuspecting law enforcement agents. But the customs, ahead of smugglers in the deception game, intercepted the items.
Different kind of drugs, and they are all unregistered pharmaceutical drugs. My advice to the fellow citizens is that please be compliant with government policies. Government is not making this policy for its own, it is making it for the own citizen. And we are tracing this kind of importer to the end through the system and see whether he has other containers also.
The anti-smuggling drive of the Apapa command no doubt is paying off, as revenue posted for the first quarter of the year shows a 44% increase when compared to 2020.
Cough syrup with codeine.
We have been trailing this since September of last year, 2020. And we were able to intercept it only, I think, 23rd of March of this year.
Apart from generating 159 billion naira in the first quarter of the year, the duty paid value of seized items were 1.8 billion naira. In Lagos, Michael Olaleye, NTA News.
Now to road traffic accidents. Except in heavy traffic, it may take about 30 to 45 seconds for speeding vehicles to overtake one another. Very short, right? But those few seconds can be traumatizing for some road users, especially where such scenarios involve trucks bearing unlatched containers. Adeni Taiwo tells us why this is so in this report.
Trucks bearing containers are a major part of the nation's distribution network, moving goods from the nation's port across different parts of the country. So, their presence is everywhere and can sometimes pose danger to other road users. Queen Amabi may have been driving for about 15 years, yet she says she is uncomfortable with the sight or presence of trucks bearing containers around her while on the wheels.
They should have a specific time for their movements.
You see them, you'll be afraid, because you see many of those trailers, they look very bad.
Their apprehension stems from frequent cases of accidents involving unlatched containers on the nation's highways, especially along the Ojuelegba Stadium corridor in Surulere, Lagos, one of which almost claimed Khadijat Oreniwa's life.
The fear of the container falling off the bridge was what was on our mind, but unknowingly it was going to fall on our car.
I am standing right here on Ojuelegba Bridge in Lagos. This is one of the scenes that is said to be notorious for container accidents. Well, I may not be able to reconstruct how it happens, but I can imagine that when they struggle to climb the bridge from this point, with what people say is overload, they struggle and sway, and down this way, the container will fall on human and other cargoes down there.
Vehicle that is there is Jeep, black Jeep. I think it's 2 and 3 people inside it. So, but before you will see it, the thing fall on their head.
While they blame the menace on poor safety practices among truck drivers, the issue of driving poorly latched containers requires more than passing interest from relevant government agencies.
The people that are in charge of the regulators at the port, where they're carrying this container from, because you cannot bring a trailer that is not good, and you wanted to carry a container that is very heavy, and those people are not concerned.
The consensus among those affected is that container accidents can be avoided, especially if premium is paid on safety regulations by all concerned. In Lagos, Adeniyi Taiwo, NTA News.
To throw more light on this issue is the Lagos Sector Commander of the FRSC, Olusegun Ogungbemide. He joins us via Zoom. Thanks for joining us on Panorama.
It's a pleasure. I'm happy to be with you.
All right. Now, with regards to Lagos, give us an overview of accidents involving container trucks in recent times, talking about figures here.
Thank you very much. Let me pick from the commencement of this year, which is the first quarter of 2021. That's talking of January, February, and March. We've been able to record a total of 53 crashes in Lagos. That's involving crashes. That's the data that is made available to FRSC, as compared to what we had in 2020. That's the first quarter of 2020, where we recorded 68. So we have a downward turn by virtue of, let me say, 22% compared to 2020 reduction.
Okay, it's interesting to know that there is a reduction in the number of cases, but what are the major causes of these accidents?
We're so unfortunate that we still have to be enumerating on the causes of road traffic crashes involving trucks at this time, because of the series of intervention that Federal Road Safety Corps and other stakeholders have actually put in. The major causes of all these crashes are not far-fetched. We have, just like we have categorized in the recent time, the human factors, the mechanical factor, and also the road. And of recent, we've come to also establish that when we look at the major causes of these traffic crashes, we should throw the entire thing at the feet of the human factor, because it takes the human to manage the road, either good or bad, and it's also the responsibility of the man to put the vehicle in proper position for it to be motorable and create a safe motoring environment for Nigeria.
So now, how can the authorities come in here talking about preventing this anomaly?
That is what has actually brought us to the level where we are today compared to where we are coming from. The intervention of all the stakeholders, the authority. The issues of crashes involving FRSC is not involving road trucks. It's not just one establishment affair, because of the enormosity and the huge involvement of operators and the trucks that we are talking about. We have thousands of trucks coming into Lagos and leaving Lagos on a daily basis. So when we want to talk of limiting the effort of reducing the rate of crashes involving these trucks to FRSC alone, we might not be able to come to, let me say, conquer more than 15% of it through enforcement. That's why the Corps Marshal, Dr. Bobuye Oyemi, in his wisdom, right from the time he took over, has tried to get all other stakeholders involved. When I say all other stakeholders, we're talking of, that's the NTA, we're talking of Lagos State government, where we've been holding series of meetings. We are talking of the operators, that's the owners of the trucks and drivers. And we have tried a lot through our series of intervention enforcement to reduce the rate of crashes involving these trucks. And that was what even prompted the establishment of our road safety transportation standard. Road safety, that's RTSS, Road Transport Safety Standardization Scheme that was introduced by Federal Road Safety Corps a few years back, that every operator that has more than 5 vehicles in his fleet must be registered, where we regulate the activities of these truckers. You know, before now, it's all commerce affair. Nobody cares about the minimum safety standard. And that's exactly what prompted the introduction of that policy. So now we are able to regulate them. We have the driver's operator standard. We have the driver safety standard. We have the vehicle safety standard. We have the operator safety standard. That before you can put your vehicle on the road, all these standards must be accomplished. And that's what has assisted to a great extent in reducing the rate of crashes on our roads.
Okay, now talking about the operators and the drivers, now on a personal level, what should they do to prevent such accidents?
For these crashes to be prevented, the standard is already created as put in place by Federal Road Safety Corps. Picking from the vehicle safety standard, FRSC is just requesting for minimum safety standards. Since we all agree that because of the economic situation in the country, we cannot expect all those that are interested in this early business to bring in new vehicles. Even when you are bringing in this fairly used vehicle, the standard requires that you bring in a vehicle that you can maintain its minimum safety standard.
All right.
What are we talking about as regards the minimum safety standard? What is the condition of the vehicle? What is the lighting system? How are they operating? Is the trafficator working? Is the headlamp working? Is the parking light, is it functioning? The windscreen, is it intact? The inner mirror and side mirror? The state of the engine of the vehicle, is it a smoking engine?
Yes, those things are very, very important.
Do you have a standard?
Yes,
tires?
there are little things that the drivers should know. Thank you very, very much, Sector Commander, for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you very much.
Moving on now, it's time for a break. Panorama continues shortly.
Coronavirus is real. Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
Thanks for staying. Talking Health now, in line with its determination to ensure accountability and transparency in the deployment and administration of COVID-19 vaccines in Nigeria, the National Primary Health Care Development Agency, NPHCDA, is partnering with the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC. The collaboration will ensure all appropriate anti-corruption, accountability and transparency measures are established and sustained throughout the 4 phases of the COVID-19 vaccination campaigns. The ICPC will track and monitor the deployment and use of COVID-19 vaccines across the country with a focus on 4 critical areas of theft and embezzlement, service provision, vaccine availability and advisory. The Executive Director, National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Faisal Shuaib, therefore assures the public that those with intentions of perpetrating any unlawful act in this regard, such as extortion, diversion of vaccines and funds meant for the vaccination exercise, will be apprehended and made to face the full wrath of the law. The general public is therefore encouraged to report any act of corruption in the vaccination process to NPHCDA or ICPC. Now to COVID-19 update. Latest figures from the Nigeria Center for Disease Control as at the 12th of April shows that 44 new cases of the coronavirus have been recorded in 5 states of the Federation, including the FCT, bringing the total number of confirmed cases to 163,837 in Nigeria. Out of the new infections, Enugu topped the list with 22 cases, followed by Lagos with 15 cases, FCT 4, and Osun 2, while Kaduna had 1 new case. 154,177 persons have been discharged, while 2,061 deaths have been recorded across the country. Sports update is next.
Ministry of Youth and Sport Development says spirited efforts are being made to ensure that the main bowl of Moshood Abiola National Stadium, Abuja, and 8 component facilities are upgraded and made available to the public for optimal service delivery. The disclosure comes against a newspaper publication which reported over the weekend that the facility, which is currently under renovation, is still in ruins.
If the stadium is deployed to the magnitude portrayed, there is no way such an important event like the home games would be hosted in the stadium.
By the end of April, you will see the grass lush green, also with that of the nursery. As for the scoreboard, the components are at the airport, at the port as I speak to you right now. And once they're brought in, all we just do is install and we'll be okay to go.
Women between the ages of 16 and 25 have completed a 16-week sporting program in Abuja as part of their contribution towards elevating survivors of gender-based violence in Nigeria. The participants took part in 5 sports,